welcome to My Sew Bliss. Today I'm going to show you how to sew a button on using your sewing machine. It makes sewing on buttons super easy and super quick. It is the only way I'm going to be doing it. So the supplies that you're going to need are, of course, a button that you're going to be putting on a piece of clothing or a bag or something you've made, and then a sewing machine with thread. And we're also going to be using some tape that just helps hold the button in place for us, and then a hand needle. So let's get started. So I'm just going to be doing mine on a scrap piece of fabric that I have. I'm going to be using a black button with white thread so that you guys can see it very nicely. But the first thing that you're going to want to do is mark and put the button exactly where you want it to go. So mark on your fabric, I suggest with a marking pencil that we'll wipe off later on. And then place the button, and I like to use some tape, just clear regular tape, to hold that button in place, and that'll make sure it doesn't move when we go to sew it on. So I just take my tape and lay it right over the button, and there I have it. So it's just taped right in place and ready to go. I mean, you do want to make sure the holes are exactly how you want them lined up. If you want them crooked, if you want them straight, that's something you might want to think about. But for me right now, it doesn't really matter. Just look into that. So now that I have that taped on and ready to be sewn on, I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine and get my sewing machine ready to sew the button on. So to sew my button on, I'm going to be using my Bernina. It's the Bernina Aurora 430. You do not need this kind of machine. You do not need a Bernina. You can use any machine that you have to do this. So the first thing I'm gonna have is a foot that has a wide enough opening. Some feet come off on this bottom part and they just have the lever right here, and if you can do that, that's one option, and that will just sit right here on top of your button. There's actually button sewing feet on some machines, so I haven't found the need to actually buy one. So this is what I have right now. This is actually just my number 1 foot, my universal foot. Here you can see it has a larger opening in the middle, so that way I can do a zigzag stitch. That is what we're looking for, a foot that you can just place over the button and do a really good zigzag stitch over it. So whatever foot you have that works with that, or even taking this off and just having the arm part down would work best. Now, like I said, I'm going to be using a zigzag stitch, and I typically find that about a 4.1 width works best for me. Obviously, we're going to try it out before I full on sew it on, because you want to make sure you are getting the width to be as wide as the buttonhole widths are. Like the holes on the button, not the actual buttonhole, but those holes that are on there. So we want to make sure the width of the zigzag matches up with that, which we will do in a moment. And one other thing is you want to make sure that your feed dogs are down. So I have a button over here on the side of my machine that I just press. It's lower, and I just press it in, and it lowers the feed dogs. So it can depend on what kind of machine you have of where that is located, but just make sure you locate them. These are the feed dogs down here, and that makes sure that it's not moving the fabric and wanting to continue going down. So that is key for sewing your button on. So now we're ready to try it out, see if our zigzag stitch works, and sew it on. I'm just leaving my regular presser foot on. I'm going to lower it, have it sit right on top of the button, and I'm looking to make sure that my needle can line up with the holes in the button. So I'm going to lower my needle, and it did go in one of the holes, and then we're going to make sure it fits and goes in the other one, and there it is. So it is ready to go. I also can pull those threads over and make sure they're out of the way, because we do want to hold on to the tails. We will finish that off later. So now I'm going to go back and forth about 10 times to finish off sewing those 2 holes on top. Then once I'm done sewing, lift presser foot and make the tails a little long so I can finish them off in a little bit, and I'll cut them off. And then I just push them off to the side so that I can do the bottom set of holes, because mine has 4. Obviously, if yours has 2, you're just going to do the 2. But mine has 4, so I'm going to do it one more time. And lower my presser foot where those holes would be. And test it out. Make sure I'm lined up accurately. And it's lined up. Pull that tail out of the way. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All done there. Lift the presser foot and again pull it off. There's my tails. So now I have my buttonhole sewn on. We just need to finish off with all this excess thread. Now that I have it sewn, I'm ready to take my tape off. So I'll just pull the clear tape off. Sometimes it rips, sometimes I can get it all off at the same time. If not, I'll just pick it off. And now I'm going to take all these threads and using my hand needle, I'm going to thread them down through this hole. So let me thread one real quick and show you what I mean by that. Here I have it threaded on this left side, so I'm just going to take it right back down through the hole. If you want to make sure it lines up in between where the thread is as well. That'll keep it looking really nice on the back. So I'll just thread it through and pull that thread through. And I'll do that with all of those threads that are on the front so that everything is on the back. Once you have your threads threaded through from the front, so it should look really nice and clean on the front, go to the back, and I have 2 threads on one side, 2 threads on the other, and I'm just going to tie that into a knot a couple times to finish those off. And then I'll just trim it. And that's all done. Do the next one. Now you are all done sewing your button on using your sewing machine. If you guys have any questions or comments, make sure to leave them down below. Make sure to go check out my Instagram for more sewing tips and tricks, and also make sure to sign up for our email list. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!